Good afternoon, you astute people. Today I'm joined by Lars Thomas, who is from Denmark, and he is the only cryptozoologist, so his son tells me, in Denmark, and he's going to tell you a little bit about what he does in Denmark with cryptozoology. Over to you.
Oh, thank you. Yes, well, I am actually the only cryptozoologist in Denmark, or at least that's what I believe, because I've been claiming that for years, and so far no one has contradicted me. So, well, I am a zoologist by training, but I specialize in identifying small bits and pieces of any animal, hairs, scales, bones, whatever. So apart from, well, there's two things I do basically. I work with with the animals, strange animals of my home country, Denmark, but I also work for various international cryptozoologists, the CFZ, and people in America, in Australia, and so forth, and identify hair samples, footprints, any odd bits of animal that those people find everywhere. So that's what and then I also study the Danish mystery animals, and it's very relaxing to study the mystery animals in a place where you're the only cryptozoologist, because you don't have to waste an enormous lot of time arguing with other people. You only have yourself to answer to, and it's only your opinion that has any kind of value. Now then, Denmark is a very small country, and there's only about 5 million people. But despite the fact that Denmark is fairly heavily populated, we have a lot of strange creatures. We have lake monsters and various other bits and pieces, and we have a few rather special things. We haven't got any, shall we say, abominable snowmans or yetis or bigfoots, but we have a very old tradition of trolls, big, hairy, human-like creatures, and some of them have some rather interesting names. The most common one in Denmark is called, in Danish, slattenpatten, and if I translate that into English, it would be something like floppy tits, because these are renowned for having very long pendulous breasts, and every time someone tries to chase one of these, they will flung their big breasts across their shoulders, so they hang down their backs, and then they will run like the clappers and try to, of course, avoid being caught. Sometimes they are actually caught. Some of our older Danish kings were expert troll hunters, and they have caught and shot several of these strange beings. We also have a lot of rather strange animals running around in Denmark. Strange meaning that they shouldn't be in Denmark. They're actually fairly normal animals, but we have a very good-sized population of Siberian chipmunks quite close to Copenhagen. They have been living there at least since the 1950s, and nobody knows anything about where they actually came from, whether they were pets that were released or whatever's happened. And then during the last few years, I've been studying a rather special branch of cryptozoology, something that most people haven't done much work in, which is something I would call cryptoentomology, that is strange insects. I have personally rediscovered a beetle in Denmark that was considered to have been extinct sometime in the early 1990s, and I'm currently trying to establish whether a fly that has been considered extinct for at least 100-200 years has actually resurfaced in southern Denmark. Well, and apart from that, there's always the joy of when you're in a small country and you're the only one of your kind, I mean a cryptozoologist, every time you open your mouth or you get interviewed in a newspaper or something, you get almost swamped with letters and emails and so forth from people all over your country who either thinks that they have seen something interesting or thinks that you're completely off your rocker. And either way, it's very entertaining, and I have a lot of fun doing it. And I think it's very it's interesting to try to add to the fauna of your country, whether it be proper normal animals or it be strange ones.
Can I ask, you said earlier on in the talk about identifying footprints and identifying hair samples.
Mm-hmm.
What is the process that you use when you are sent these samples?
Well, the general idea is when you, 30, 40 years ago, before DNA analysis was discovered and developed, you used hairs to identify animals or indeed humans, because every hair from every species of animals has a distinct specific structure. You can identify an animal just from a single strand of hair. So if people send me a couple of hairs that they found, what I try to do is I look at the structure of this hair in a microscope and try to determine whether is this something we know already, or is this something special, interesting, something unknown that we haven't seen before. And if it turns out to be something that I'm unable to identify, then I suggest to these people, whoever they are, that they try to arrange for DNA analysis. Now, DNA analysis are quite expensive, and there's no need to do them if I can see, for instance, that what they think is the hair of a big cat is in fact just the hair of a dog. But if they send me a hair and I can say, well, this is definitely the hair of a big cat, and then I can recommend to people that they arrange for a DNA analysis and get it determined. This is in fact just what happened here in Woolsey 2 years ago, when we found some hairs in a Hoddesford wood just outside Woolsey here, and I looked at them and saw that they were in fact from a leopard. And so I recommended that they be sent to the DNA analysis, and 2 different places, one in Durham University and one in Copenhagen, determined that they were indeed hairs of a leopard.
It's very interesting. One last question before we wrap up and finish. You spoke about the trolls. Mm-hmm. I'm very interested in trolls myself, reading Tolkien and various other books. Is the troll a silicon-based life form, or is it something completely different?
I think trolls are, or at least were, some kind of quite ordinary flesh and blood animals, because there's a lot of old stories about them being shot or hurt in some way, and they bleed just like any other animal, and they complain about the pain, and if you shoot them, they will limp and so on. So I'm not quite sure what kind of animal they are or were, but I think they were just animals of some kind.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. That was a very entertaining interview, and I hope that the rest of you 2 people enjoy the interview. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.